Okie dokie. It's almost 8 o'clock by my watch and by my reckoning, so we're almost ready to get going. And for those of you who have just joined us or are just joining us, please again just drop a comment into the little box below the video there that you'll see on the page. Just let me know that you're here, say hi, and we'll get going very, very, very shortly, I promise. It's wonderful to see we've had some late registrations. So look forward to sharing with you a lot of valuable content tonight, and we've got a reasonable amount of ground to cover. It won't be a super long webinar this evening, but it will be an informative and useful webinar for you. So if you've got pens and paper, get them handy. Just so that way you can take plenty of notes. There will be a replay come out in probably about 24 hours time after tonight, but that will only be available for a short period. So that's not going to be a permanently available replay. So generally by the end of the week, I'll take that replay down. So if you do want to make the most of tonight's webinar, I'd suggest you take plenty of notes and get ready for a content-rich, valuable webinar, which we will be starting very, very soon. Okie dokie, it is 8 o'clock by my reckoning, so I think it's time that we get started. And the way I like to start all of my webinars is to put myself on camera. So good evening and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join me here this evening. Tonight, we are going to go through the psychology of a successful pitch. How you can pull together a pitch which is informative, but more importantly, one that will sell your ideas, your message, and get your clients buying into your products, into your services. And there are some techniques that we're going to cover tonight that will help you do that, that will enable you to talk to everybody that you happen to be in front of. You may find today that there are certain groups of people, certain types of people that you can resonate with and that you can get to invest into your products and services far easier than you can other types of people. By the end of the webinar tonight, you're going to have an understanding and know why that is the case. The way the webinar is going to work tonight is I will flip back to the PowerPoint presentation in the not too distant future, so you don't have to sit there and look at this face for radio. But I wanted to just sit here and just go through just a few things. Over the course of the webinar, I'm happy to receive questions, so that if you do have any questions, that comments box below the video that you can see right now, drop your questions into there. I will then answer them and address them as they come through to me. So please ask questions at any particular point during the webinar. Stay around for the entire webinar. I've got a little special announcement for you right at the very end that's going to be worth hanging around for and worth checking out. So please stay for the full webinar, because there is going to be something of value for you right at the very end. What I would do, one final check now. Turn off any distractions. So that means shut down any other windows, turn off your Facebook, shut down your email, turn off your phone, anything that's going to cause a distraction, that's going to stop you from concentrating and enjoying this webinar for the next, I think, probably about 45 minutes. We're not going to run for a massive amount of time tonight, but I'll be here for as long as you need me to be here. So if you've got questions, again, I'm happy to answer them. Just fire them through. But the content will run for somewhere in the range of sort of 40 to 45 minutes tonight, with plenty of information there for you to digest and take away. We'll go through that. So like I say, got any questions, fire them through. Let me know you're here. Drop a comment into the box below. Let me know, and then let's get started. Before we get into the meat of the content, I want to give you just a little bit of background about who I am and why I am sat here in my home office this evening presenting to you. What makes me credible to present to you all about public speaking and pitching? Well, my background and story in terms of public speaking starts probably about 12, 13 years ago now. I have a background in IT. I was working for an IT consulting company when they were working for the NRMA, one of our largest insurers that we have in the country. The NRMA pushed the consulting company out the door. The consulting company then obliged and pushed me out the door and made me redundant probably about 3.5 weeks before Christmas. Merry Christmas. You know, for the next, 7 or 8 weeks, I spent my days going to the beach and playing golf every day. I was living the high life over the Christmas New Year period when there was no work available, nothing to get done. And in that time, I quickly, inadvertently, I was unaware of it at the time, but I'd slipped into a rut. So my wife decided that she was sick of going out while I was going to work, while I was going to the beach and playing golf. She signed me up for a public speaking course. That sparked a passion. And for the next 12 years, since then, I have been helping people develop their skills and develop their confidence in public speaking. Curiously, by the end of that 8-week course, I was back in the workforce though. And I was back working, ironically, of all places, at the NRMA. They'd heard that I was available on the market to basically come back and work for them directly. So they asked me to come back, and that's exactly what I did. I jumped at the opportunity to get back in the workforce and start earning some money so that I could start paying for all of these games of golf. What I had then done over a reasonably short period of time in my career, I actually trebled my income. Now, what I put it down to is my ability to speak, particularly in the IT world. If you can speak in public, you are going to and communicate your ideas, you're going to stand out. And that's exactly what happened to me. I stood out because I could sell ideas. I was able to sell multi-million-dollar projects that no one else could sell because I had the ability to stand up there and articulate the benefits. And through the course of my IT career, I got promotions and, like I say, very quickly trebled my income until I reached sort of a bit of a ceiling within the sense that I was sick of IT. I'd done my dash within the industry. And so at the start of this year, I started the Public Speaking Skills Academy, all about helping entrepreneurs, small business owners develop their message and so that they can take their ideas out and sell them to the world and do what I did and treble their income. That would be, my aim is to help you get more income because you are selling your ideas better. So that brings me right through to today and obviously to this webinar here in terms of how I can help you develop your pitch and understand the psychology and how you can structure and tailor your message so that it impacts the most amount of people. Take what I've learned over the last 12 years and tap into it. And that's exactly what we're going to do now as we dive into the content for this evening's webinar. So let's bring the PowerPoint back up and get into the content. So we've already done about me. There's nothing more to say in particular, but if you have questions about my background, of course, I'm always happy to answer them. What I will do for you this evening is provide you heaps, and I mean heaps of dynamic information. There's nothing that I'm going to hold back, and what I am sharing with you is proven techniques. There's no hocus pocus things that I haven't done. This is everything that I have put into play to help get me to where I am today. So you can rely on the information being proven and being useful and being practical. That is what we want to avoid. Let's put it out there right now. Let's deal with this right here, right now. You do not want to be the used car salesman or the car salesman. That's an apology to any car salesmen that are out there. I'm sure there are reputable, ethical car salesmen, but it's an industry with a reputation, and a lot of times that reputation is not undeserved. What we're going to talk about tonight and what you'll share and discover is basically how you can be a ethical, responsible salesman or woman and sell your products and services and sell them without being sleazy, cheesy, smarmy. What we're going to cover is all the techniques that you need to know and understand to have maximum impact, but without compromising integrity or the way you feel and contemplate yourself when it comes to selling. I mean, drop a comment in there. Let me know if you've experienced any sort of poor sales techniques and how they made you feel, and particularly bad sales presentations. What was it that made them bad? Drop a comment in below and just let me know your experiences. This here is the fundamental step. The first thing that you want to do and know is who is your audience? Who are you talking to? If you don't know who is in your audience, you have little chance, let's be honest, little chance of being successful with your pitch. You need to invest the time and effort into understanding who is in the room. and who is on your webinar, whether you're doing an online pitch or whether you're doing an offline pitch. It's about understanding who is in the room with you so that you can tailor your message appropriately. Now, there's a couple of different things you want to be thinking about, and we'll cover those in the next slide. But really, remember this: if you get nothing else out of this webinar tonight, and I hope you get heaps, I really do want you to get heaps out of tonight, you need to know and understand who you are presenting to. Who are you speaking to? Now, to do that, here are some questions that you can answer. And the better you answer these questions, the deeper you go with this, the better off you'll be. You want to understand, before you stand in front of an audience, what are their pain points? What are they suffering with? What's the challenge that they're facing? Have a think about it. What is the challenge that they are facing that's brought them to want to sit in front of you? Because ultimately, we're all busy people. We have things to do, people to see, tasks to get done. And as small business owners, we know that better than anybody, that there are always 101 things to get done. Our day never really ends. We just make a conscious choice to stop it. Then have a think about how much they know. What do they know about the particular areas that you work in? How much do they know about their pain points? Because they might be feeling the pain and suffering the pain, but they might not really know what's causing the pain. And that's where you can come into play. And that's where you start to think about what it is they want and what do they need. And they're not always the same thing. You mean, I want to get fit, but that doesn't mean I know I need to concentrate on my diet, but that doesn't mean that that's exactly what I do. And that's where a health coach would come in and help me. So this way you need to have a think about what is it they want and what do they need to get what they want. And then how you can tailor your message to then tailor your message, so that you can position yourself in front of them as the right person or company to invest their money into, buy your products and services. And that's where you have to think about then, at what points have they got to agree upon to accept your idea or your proposal. So think about that. What is it that they need to, ideas that they need to buy into to want to go in for your product and service? Now, to do that and to help you build up your credibility, here's the six-step pitching model. And if anybody wants a soft copy of this, I'm happy to email out a soft copy version of this diagram here so that you've got the six-step pitching model that you can work through. It starts out with the meet and greet, and you'll see that I did that at the start of the webinar. For those that were here right on the dot, you'll see that, I was meeting and greeting, getting you to say hi, sending a note just to let the world know that you're here. You do the same thing when you're online. If you're an in-person presentation, it's exactly the same. You just go and shake hands. We'll then go through into an opening. Then we'll go through your story. Now, that's crucial. Don't underestimate the power of your story. It's what's going to build your credibility and build your trust and rapport with the room. You'll then go into the content to show that you understand their problem. Then you go through to a close. And that's where you'll get to sell. And we've got some special techniques and special, just tailoring of the language. Nothing manipulative, just a tailoring of the language to speak to the entire room, and then a Q&A. So let's start out the meet and greet. Really simple. You have got to reach out to the room and go and meet and greet them. If it's in person, go and shake hands. Go and say hi. Go and basically get in their face so that they get to meet you and build a connection with you. If it's online, get your audience to drop a note, to say hi, show that you are there and that you are ready to listen to them and you're ready to be a part of the problems that they're facing so that they can start to build a rapport. Then launch into your opening. And this is where it's crucial that your opening covers a couple of things. Firstly, you've got to basically get their attention. Because you are speaking and because they have come to listen to your presentation does not mean that they will. What you need to do in your opening is get their attention. And that's the first real critical aspect here, is to sit there and get the attention of the audience. You've then got to establish rapport and set expectations. So it's about building me too. So get your audience thinking that Dave or Alistair or Mark or whoever understands their problems, understands their world a little bit, and set the expectations in terms of how the presentation is going to flow. So one thing you also need to do is to sit there and address the elephants. Now, I've just had a note here from Peter. He said he's got a problem with his connection. If anybody else is experiencing any problems with their connections, if they could just let me know, or if you are experiencing perfect vision, just drop a note in there just to say that you have no dramas. So that Peter's also come up. Okay, Peter's back again. Great, Peter. Glad to have you back on board again. I hope you haven't missed too much. We're only just here talking about just the opening of the presentation. And one of the aspects you want to do and deal with in the opening of your presentation is to address the elephants in the room. Now, what do I mean by this? This is where you get to relieve tension in the minds of your audience. It can be as simple as as we just had that's a wonderful example, thank you, Peter, where there is a potential problem with a connection. Someone can't see or hear the presentation. I've got to address that so that Peter can move on for the rest of the webinar. If it was an in-person presentation, it might be that the air conditioning is not working, so the room's a little bit hot. Just by simply mentioning it and acknowledging it, you relieve the tension. It means that anything that they're thinking about, they can move aside so that your audience can then sit back and listen and absorb to everything that you have to say. So make sure that you take the time to address the elephants in the room. Oh, thank you. Sarah's just let me know that she's got no issues on her end. So I'm going to work on the assumption that we've got a good connection for pretty much everybody. So wonderful. And Alistair's done exactly the same. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Alistair. Once you've got through the opening and you've set the expectations in terms of how the event's going to run, how your presentation's going to flow, and you've addressed the elephants in the room to relieve tension, you then want to go through and deal with your story. Now, this here is all about building your connection and building your me too, showing that you have a story and that you've got the ability to relate to the audience, and they can, more importantly, relate to you and your background. How can you do that? Well, you can talk about a couple of things. Firstly, talk about your life and business experience. You will find that in your background, there are plenty of points that can relate to what you have gone through. Other people are either experiencing or going through themselves. What inspired you to start your business? What inspired you to start doing what you're doing? Those things there, those little snippets of life, those little emotional pieces are what's going to build the connection. It's going to build the rapport. If you don't have a rapport with your audience, you are not going to get a successful outcome on your pitch. Let's call it now. People buy from this is cliche, they buy from people they like, know, and trust. To do that, you've got to build the Me Too's, and this is your most powerful aspect of building Me Too's. People don't just buy purely based on logic. They invest in people that they like to trust and they want to work with. So that's where you can talk about your life experience, your business experience. Why did you start your business? Why are you doing what you're doing? And if you're representing a larger company, it could be, again, why is the company doing what it's doing? Talk about your greatest successes and your greatest failures. And out of the two, I would encourage you to go for your greatest failures. It shows your human side. People don't expect perfection. They really don't. They know that life is what life is and that things go wrong. What your greatest failures are going to be so powerful because they are going to show A, your human side, but B, show you what you've learned. And when you can demonstrate to a potential customer the things that you've learned from when things have gone wrong, they're going to go, hang on a minute, Alistair, Sarah, Peter, whoever has the experience. They've been down the path that I want to go down. They've got the scars. They're going to help me avoid getting those exact same scars. So leverage the scars that you've got in life to your advantage. You've got them for a reason. Use them to your full benefit. Talk about your best and worst clients. What did you learn from each of those? Ultimately, what you want to do as you go through this process is highlight the elements that are going to relate to your audience. So if you can think of stories, think of experiences that you know will tie into your audience, leverage that. Talk about those as part of your story and your background. So don't be afraid to make sure you tailor it. And your story might change subtly from one client to another. The essence of it isn't, but the way you describe it may be tailored to suit the room that you're talking to at any particular point in time. You then move into your content, and we're not going to spend too much time tonight talking about your content, other than I want, in terms of what material you should cover, what I want you to think about is to use this opportunity in the pitch to share with the room your expertise. Answer questions. Don't be afraid to sort of share off sort of IP related information. Anything you think, oh my God, that's too much content to be giving away, someone should be paying me to tell them that. That's the information you've got to be sharing with them. The reason being is that you want to be at a point where the customer goes, I could do this myself, but you know what? I'm not going to. It's too much effort. What they're paying you to do is ultimately make their life simpler and make their life easier. There is pretty much nothing you couldn't do these days yourself. Maybe neurosurgery and brain surgery is probably one aspect I wouldn't want people to be sort of doing on themselves, but essentially you can find out all the bits of information to sort of build a house, to do mechanics on your car, to do anything you want. You can learn how to do it yourself by YouTube, by Googling pretty much any subject. So don't think that whatever it is you know is going to be completely private property and no one else in the world knows it. Chances are there is a way to research it and do it, your audience to do it themselves if they want to. That being said, they're not going to. And that's where you should demonstrate your expertise and credibility in this content section. However, there are some things that we can do as we deliver the content to make it tangible, to make it real to your audience so that it becomes enjoyable to listen to, they get more out of it, and ultimately when they get more out of it, you will get more clients. Firstly, use simple slides. And you see a lot of the examples I'm going to give in the upcoming slides they're based around Steve Jobs, and there's a reason. He was the master of using really simple slides there. Look at the slide in the background there. He's got basically 4 icons or 4 pictures on the slide there, and he's talking to it. My slides here tonight, with the exception of a handful, are fairly simple. They're just pictures so that I can talk to them. You don't need to have complex slides thrown up on your information, on your PowerPoints generally. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in terms of bad presentations you've been through. What were the PowerPoint slides? Were they text dense or were they image dense? I have a suspicion what the answer is, but feel free to sort of tell me whether or not the PowerPoint slides had too much text or too many images, and that's what made it boring. You also want to leverage exciting language. Don't be afraid to use words such as awesome, unbelievable, incredible, exciting, insanely great, the #1 lust object. Now, if you're in the adult toy industry, you've definitely got to be using that last one. But do you know what? There's no reason, maybe we all shouldn't be using the #1 lust object. It's emotive, it's emotional, and it's going to get noticed. Those words that you see there on the screen in front of you have the ability to get your audience excited. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. You want your audience to get excited. So as you're delivering the content, think about the results that they're going to see from using your advice and from using the information you're providing them. And think about it. Is it going to be awesome? Is it going to be unbelievable to them? Is it going to be incredible and exciting? If it is, say so. Don't be afraid to hide it. Show the passion that you have for your business and what it is you do on a day-to-day basis, and let it come through in the language. Don't downplay what it is you do. Really don't. You all do awesome stuff. You really do. If you're doing awesome work, tell the world that it's awesome. Let them see that it's awesome. Let them hear that it's awesome so that they'll buy into it and experience the awesomeness that you provide. Now, is there enough awesome in that? Have a look at how you describe things as well. And if you want inspiration, do what I've done here and go pop down to your local restaurant and see, particularly if you go to a fancy fine dining restaurant, the descriptions get even more creative. If we look at the left-hand side of the table there, we've got, let's look at the first one, wild Fijian albacore sashimi with pea tendril salad, with toasted hazelnuts, garlic chips, scallions, and melon cilantro vinaigrette. Now that sounds very fancy, and to be honest, I've probably got very little idea of what it is until I read the literal description. Raw fish rolls with pea pod shavings and a flavorful dressing. Now that doesn't sound anywhere near as exciting and interesting to have on my dinner plate, does it? Yet what we often do when we're pitching and describing our services and the results is we'll give the literal description. Don't be afraid to put a bit of vividness into your presentation, into your pitch, to create some examples. It makes it fun, it makes it come alive. It really does, and that's what you want to have happen. You want your pitch to come alive. You also want, have a look at the second one here. This is probably my favorite one because it's so, I mean, the literal description is just potato salad. So lame, but when you hear a russet potato muslin infused with organic Rhode Island red egg, shaved celery, and ground mustard, it sounds so much more appealing, so much more, yeah, I want to have a piece of that. And that's just the simple power of language. So have a look at how you're describing the outcomes in particular of what you do and say, are you putting enough creative flair, enough pizzazz behind it to make it come alive? Don't be shy. That's really the essence of what I'm trying to say. Do not be shy. If you've got something technical to talk about, something that's a bit challenging, then make it relatable to the room. So translate numbers and concepts into measures that people can understand. Steve Jobs at Apple was the master at this. When you buy or when you purchase an iPhone and it's a 32 gig iPhone, it's a 64 gig iPhone. It's Alistair's just said he's lost all sound. Is anybody else having problems? If anybody else could let me know if they're having issues, I would appreciate it. I'll just check, make sure that I can still see that the microphone here is broadcasting effectively. So just let me know if anybody else is experiencing difficulties. So we'll go back. We'll carry on until, for the time being, 30 gig or 32 gig, it means nothing. But 7,500 songs means something. It means something tangible that I could relate to say, how big is my music library? Is it going to fit on that phone or not? Make the numbers specific. Example there, 7,500 songs versus thousands of songs. Not which one, if you say thousands of songs, is that 1,001 or is that 10,000 songs? Just makes it a little bit more real. And the US national debt, there's that personal and digestible. This one here, numbers of 13 billion are so big that you just can't comprehend it. Okay, Dave has said that he's all good with the sound. So I'm hoping it's just you, Alistair. Hopefully your sound's coming back. And Sarah and Peter have said they're all good. Peter suggested refreshing, Alistair. So maybe just try refreshing. Okay, but Stephen Holloway is also good as well. So it's wonderful that most people seem to be getting through okay. So yeah, this last one here, the national debt, $13 billion. It's too big. It just can't comprehend that. But if you break it down to an individual level and say that at birth, a child in the US owes $30,000, that becomes more real. People can start to relate to that. Now close. This is where we start to hit the, we're in the money zone now. This is where we start to get up, get interesting. This is what you want to have happen at the close. You want to show that you are there to help your clients come to the top of the mountain, to see the view and to see the new world. You don't want to be this guy here. And what we're going to cover off over this last little bit is how you can avoid being this guy here and be the man or woman that helps them to the top of the mountain, helps your clients at the top of the mountain. Let's have a quick look at what the elements are of a successful close, so you understand it. And then we'll go through some specific techniques and specific language. I don't want to use the term trick. I want the phrasings that will help you become more successful at closing. Firstly, you've got to reintroduce the problem. Remind the room, remind your potential clients why they are there. What's the problem that they're facing? What's the pain points that they experience? And then introduce your product or service and show how that solves the problem. Now, this is where it gets really quite powerful, because you can start to tailor your product to your service and show how it solves their specific problems. Then you talk about the benefits of your service or your product. What's the new world? What's the benefits they're going to experience by using your product or your service? And there's some real tricks. We keep this one in mind when we move on to the upcoming slides. And you want to share testimonials and people that have had great experiences using your products and services. Reassure them that there's the guarantee, and then have the call to action. Specifically tell them what to do next. And then, if applicable, add some scarcity and urgency to the world. Sit there and say that there's a limited time for your offer. There's, whether it's sign up today or you've got to sign up by the end of the week, what's the urgency that creates the movement for someone to want to actually take out their credit card and spend money with you? If there's no urgency, they won't pay. They won't move from where they are. You need to provide just a little bit of scarcity just to prize them out of the hole that they're in. And then, particularly on the webinar, fast action bonuses. If there's any sort of act today, we'll give you free training or we'll give you something for free, throw those in as well at this point here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, to think about and remember point 3, which is all about the problem and the benefits of you solving that problem that the client is facing. And this is where we get into some really powerful stuff in. I want you taking plenty of notes at this point here. Firstly, you want to find a way to boost your clients or your potential clients' ego. Tell them how using your product or your service will boost their ego. Now, what do I mean by this? This is about describing the benefits, for example, of your product or your service in a way that's going to show them how that they can boost themselves up. So for me, it might be that for someone who comes along and works with me, it's about presenting and projecting a more confident persona, to be the Tony Robbins on stage, if that's where they want to be. Now, there's 4 motivators we're going to cover here. First one is obviously boost their ego. They're not going to apply, each of the 4 will apply to different people. So one person might be intrigued and want to hear about how your product and service can boost their ego. Someone else will want to hear the next point, and we'll go through them. So don't think that an individual person is, or every individual is a bit narcissistic, because they're not. It's about knowing that everyone has hot buttons or sort of motivators. Now, these, by phrasing different things around your products and services, you can touch each of the motivators that might be in the room. If you know an individual and you know what their motivators are, you can obviously target those specifically. But when you're talking to a group of people, you're going to find over the course that each person in the room across the board, they will have 1 or 2 of these motivators. So think about it from your product or service perspective. What is it that you could say in terms of the benefits, or the using your product or service will boost their ego? Well, for example, if they're buying insurance, how can buying insurance boost someone's ego? Well, it could be, you could be the protector of the family. You could be the protector of the organization by investing in this insurance policy. That is a way to boost their ego. It puts them up on the pedestal. That's the kinds of things you want to have a think about. Say and describe how you can boost their ego. The second motivator that you want to think about is how you can achieve more. Now, this is, as it sort of outlines, is how can someone, when they invest in your product or service, achieve more? It could be going back to the insurance, that you can invest into buying an insurance policy through me, and that will then help you achieve more because you won't have to spend so much time worrying about prevention of bad things happening. You can then instead focus your time and energy on growing the business rather than on protecting things from bad things ever happening. Just a simple phrasing like that. That's how you can look at how you can achieve more. For me, it's when clients work with me, they develop a pitch that is more powerful and they can achieve more sales in a quicker time frame. And that sort of touches there on the attain extra. How can you help someone get extra from what they have? Now, there's a slight difference between this and the last one, which last one is all about achieving sort of personal goals generally. This one is how you can get more tangible things. So how can you attain extra money, or how can you attain extra clients? And that's where I come in, for example, with my services. It's I help small business owners get extra clients or get extra money in the door because they have a better and well-refined pitch. What's some of the things that you could offer up that would describe as attaining extra? What tangible things do you help business owners get? Now, you don't necessarily have to answer that, but again, I'm happy for you to sort of punch it in and type on the keyboard and say, yep, this is what you can attain extra. But have a think about this. What is it you do that helps your clients attain something tangible? And finally, and probably the most underrated one is how do you help your clients be happier? How can you show them using your product or service enables them to be happier? Going back to the insurance one, it's you remove the tension and stress that comes with the risk of losing your home or your vehicle, and so you can go out and enjoy life without that stress hanging over. You're happier as a result. That's a really simple one. We all want to be happier. It's innate in us as human beings. We want to be happier. So have a think about how you can describe your products and services that will help people be happier. So just let's go back through the 4 motivators again. Have a think about how you can help your potential clients boost their ego, how you can help them achieve more, how you can help them attain extra, and then how you can help them be happier. And now let me just be cruel somewhat and put a little bit of a twist on this. I want you to pull them and push them. What do I mean? Well, it's about saying, this is how I can help you attain more, and this is how I can help you show them the pain of if they don't attain that extra, what it means to them. So it's about showing them the new world and showing them the pain that they'll experience if they don't move into the new world. Does that make sense? So think about it. This is what you can do if you attain all this extra cash, and this is it's things I want you to avoid. Is I want you to avoid not being able to do to go off and spend money on the new car, on the holidays that you want to go on when you get your hands on this new cash. So you've got to phrase it, and you've got to phrase this such that you throughout your presentation sprinkle in the new world that you're pulling them towards and the things that you're pushing them away from. So just gently sprinkle those throughout the presentation. They don't have to all be clustered together in the close, but that's where they're going to be super powerful. But throughout the course of your presentation, think about the places that you can throw this information into, throw these lines into, that will help just seed in the minds of those sitting there listening to you. Now, it's important to think about this from the point of view that not everyone's going to be motivated by the same 4 or the same motivators. So just by sprinkling them in there, people's ears will prick up. They will take notice when something means something to them. So take the time to basically sprinkle these throughout the presentation, knowing that it's going to have the impact that you want. It doesn't have to all be delivered in the sledgehammer right at the conclusion and in the close. Just by sprinkling these throughout the presentation, throughout the content, showing what they can achieve and what they can avoid in terms of the motivators, will help them, when it comes to the close, basically pull out their credit card and say, Steve, Alistair, Peter, Sarah, whoever, I want to I want to buy your product and service. I know I need to do this now. And as you deliver your close, stay strong. Remember, at this point here, you've shared with the room an awful lot of value. You earned the right to sort of deliver your close and show them that you can help them better themselves and better the position they're in. Like I said, you've provided value. You've earned the right for just a little bit of self-promotion. So as part of that is to maintain strong eye contact, strong, purposeful gestures, and have a strong, confident voice. Don't back away at this point here. This is the point where you want to go charging in, effectively, running to the crowd and say, here I am, I've provided value. Now let me help you on a more personal level with a one-to-one product or service, whatever it is you offer. Show them that you're confident enough to back up the words that you've delivered to them. And then you move into the Q&A, and the Q&A you hang around for as long as the Q&A will go for. It's about basically being there to answer the questions. And remember, the questions that come up are generally going to be objections or questions that people have. By answering those questions, you can move people off the fence and into buying mode just by being there to answer the questions, which are in effect objections that they have, that you can help them address and move on to then become a purchaser. At this point here, congratulate people. If they are purchasing from you, congratulate them and say thanks and give them that public recognition for basically taking the time to invest in your product or service. That will then also help loosen up a few other people that might be just sitting on the fence. That public acknowledgement that other people have purchased will be enough for some of those to basically then get their gold credit cards out as well and invest in you. So that's the content for tonight. What I have for you though is basically two options of how you can work with me. We've got the Dynamic Speaking Library, which is my $37 a month online suite of courses. You get 24/7 access and a secret Facebook group where you can learn with other people. Now, I said at the beginning, I had a special announcement, and it relates to the Dynamic Speaking Library. The cost of the library will be going up in a couple of weeks. This is one of the last opportunities from a webinar point of view to jump on at $37 a month. So I would encourage you to get on board now at $37 a month, because you will get access. When I restructure the library in a couple of weeks' time, you will get access to all of the new material, all of the new content, but at the same $37 a month, and that will remain for as long as you remain a member of the library. So now is the opportunity to jump on and basically lock in that $37 a month. For those of you that want private mentoring with me, my mentoring packages start at $550 plus GST a month, and I am happy to work with you and help guide you through developing your own pitch and looking at the content similar to what we've covered tonight, so that you can have a pitch which is as persuasive as it is going to be, so that you can have maximum impact with it. Now, if anybody has any questions, like I say, happy to answer them and address any questions you have. So please feel free to answer any questions. That's the content. If you do want to get in contact with me, my contact details are there on screen right now. So you can come in through the website, the www.publicspeakingskillsacademy.com, or you can email me at mark@publicspeakingskillsacademy.com. So if you have any questions, fire them through. I'm happy to answer them and address them right now. For those of you who want to jump on to get access to the Public Speaking Library, you'll see below the video now there's a little button that says sign up now. That'll take you through to the homepage. So that will lead you through so that you can go off and actually join the library there if you so desire. Let's see if we've got any questions coming through. I'll be online for a little while longer yet, so. Happy to answer any questions, whether it's on the content tonight or there's anything else around sort of public speaking, pitching, webinars that you want to have answered. Again, I'm happy to. If you've got particular topics of webinars that you'd like me to cover in the future, I'm happy to to take suggestions on any particular webinar topics you might like me to talk about moving forward. Okay, back here. So again, if you've got any questions, fire them through. I'm going to keep an eye on my questions are popping up on this on a second laptop over here. So that's why I'll keep looking and glancing this way. If you've got any questions, like I said, shoot them through this. Otherwise, that is the bulk of the content for this evening. For those of you who want to register for the Dynamic Public Speaking Library, when you press the button that will take you through to the home page, just scroll down and you'll find the register button is a little red Get Started Now button on the home page of the Public Speaking Skills Academy homepage. Go and just fill in your details there and sign up for the library. Hi, Steve, got your comment here. Thanks for the presentation. I am happy that you enjoyed the webinar tonight, Steve. So glad that you could join us. And I look forward to sort of you joining many more webinars coming forward, Steve. Hopefully the sound problems seem to have rectified themselves. It seems to have been sporadic, which is unusual. So we'll give it a couple more minutes for any more questions to pop through. If you've got questions, now is the time to drop them into that questions box and shoot them through. Excuse me while I just take a quick drink of water. This is actually the essential component of any webinar presentation, is making sure you've got a cup of water handy so that you can refresh your throat. Thanks, Peter, for your comment. Yes, we will speak soon. I will see if I can give you a call either tomorrow or Wednesday, Peter. I'll be online just for a couple more minutes since the questions seem to have slowed right down. So what's some of the big challenges you've had developing your pitches? I'd be curious to know what your experiences have been like. Has the content that we've shared tonight, do you think it's been valuable and useful for you? If so, just drop me a note. Just let me know what you thought, whether it was useful or not useful. I'm happy for feedback either way. Look, I'll give it another minute or so. There seems to be the comments and the questions seem to have dried up. Like I said, the replay of this will come out in the next 24 hours or so. You should receive an email from me, I think probably about this time tomorrow, with the replay package all packaged up for you. So again, if there's any additional content that you want to go through, then it'll be available for you to basically rewatch. Conversely, this webinar, after the, I'll give it a couple of days, and like I say, it's generally not going to be available post the end of the week. After that, it actually gets put into the dynamic speaking library and is available then to members only. So if there is content that you want to get in, okay, question here from Alistair. There seems to be a lot of content in the close. Is the close a short segment closing the session or a major segment closing the sale? Alistair, the content, just try and answer that. The content that I covered in terms of addressing the motivators, that can be shared that can be covered during the content, your broad content, or it can be covered in the close itself. And you'll probably want to sort of certainly deal with most of it throughout the content sections, I would suggest, because you're right, there's a lot there to cover in just that little close if you took it in a typical close session itself. So I would suggest thinking about it from the point of view of trying to see how could you look at the benefits, look at what it is you're offering, and say how can you touch each of the motivators and push people to what they can achieve and pull them away from what they want to avoid, and sprinkle that throughout the whole presentation. I suppose I touched on it and covered it tonight in terms of the close, but you're right in the sense that there's a lot there to cover. You have to be very tight with your wording to do it purely within the closed section itself. I would spread it out right throughout the content as to get maximum impact. Alistair was also just saying there it was very, very slow for the question to be submitted. So was that on the actual sort of trying to push the send button, Alistair, that you were having on the submit your question button where it was slow responding? Give it 1 or 2 more minutes for the last couple of questions. Since it sounds like there has been some problems with the response of the question box. Okay, so the submit button icon kept spinning. Thanks, Alistair. I'll have a look into that and see what was causing the problems there. Well, the questions seem to have dried up now. So what I will do is I'll wrap this webinar up and say thank you very much for attending. I look forward to sort of working with you and helping each of you individually moving forward, however you so choose. And yeah, like I said, if you've got any other questions, anything else you want addressed, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or email me at mark@publicspeakingskillsacademy.com. One last check of the questions. And with that, thank you so much for attending. We're going to wrap it up here for tonight. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you got value out of this content. And we'll keep in contact and look forward to the next webinar.